A sincere and hearty hello to all you knobsters out there in podcast land. Welcome to another fine episode of Film Nobs. I am your co-host, Barry B. Man Benning, and I tell you what, normally we talk a little bit, the Morganator and I talk a little bit about what's gone on in the past week, but we've got so much to talk about today. We're going to delve into movie franchises again. So if my partner over there doesn't mind, I think we should just go ahead and dive right into it right now. Rick, I believe our last episode we left off at the Predator franchise. So from alien on human violence, let's take it up one to some human on human violence. What do you say? I see Taken is our next franchise.
With a certain set of skills.
Yeah, Liam Neeson, you don't want to mess with any of his family. It's like John Wick's dog. Don't mess with any of his family. But, if people didn't keep messing with his family, we wouldn't have a franchise. I don't know how he feels about dogs. Maybe that's maybe that is the next step.
Even though he's made other movies that are similar to this plot of Taken.
Oh my gosh,
it's not part of the Taken franchise. So
right, but I tell you what, if you just threw the name in, yeah, you could. He's done about 5 or 6 other movies that are basically Taken movies. So instead of officially, there are 3 in the franchise. Unofficially, there's probably about 8 or 9. So what is your take on Taken?
Okay, so Taken comes at number 76 in our list. The franchise itself has earned over $1.3 billion at the box office, and that's adjusted.
How is that factored out individually?
Okay, so Taken was released in 2009, and it made almost $269 million at the box office, adjusted. Taken 2 almost doubled that at $419 million.
Wow, yeah, that's more than I thought. So yeah, this shows. All right, so people really like that first one, right? So what about the third one then?
It dropped off a little bit, at almost $352 million.
So not
still
quite.
Still popular, still a good
Right, people were satisfied enough with Taken 2 to most of them gave the third one another shot, and plus all the other. And now I kind of wish I had numbers for. I wish we had the numbers for all of those Taken, not by name, but what have we had? We've had Cold Pursuit this year. There was Unknown from several years back. I believe January Jones was in that. Of course, what else was there? I know that it just seems like there's A Walk Among the Tombstones, Nonstop.
Was it The Commuter? The one on the train?
The Commuter, right. Run All Night. There's been a lot of them have just, they've seemed pretty similar. And he's made not only himself, but a lot of other people, a lot of money with this late career resurgence as a older middle-aged action hero. But I've certainly liked some of them, but it's getting, like I say, with Cold Pursuit this year, that it's starting to get a little old.
A little frosty.
Little frosty, indeed. Oh, I see what you did there. So where are you going to take us? Where are you going to take us from here? Man, I still got it right.
Yeah, you do.
He says very unconvincingly. You may be a hell of a film knob, but you're not much of an actor.
I never claimed to be an actor.
I don't believe you. I don't believe it when you say that.
Well, you might believe me on this one. So you were talking about Scary Movie earlier. Well,
Okay.
this is where it pops up. So it makes our list at number 74.
74, right? The parody franchise of the really pretty good franchise outdraws it.
And there were 5 in the Scary Movie franchise
That have made a combined adjusted profit, or adjusted gross, I should say, of $1.1 billion.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Who thought you could combine, horror and comedy? And
Well, that's scary, and so is the franchise that we're talk about next. I see here, Saw just a little bit above that, with 1.2 billion, just a little bit. It's actually about 60 million more than Scary Movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been 8 in the Saw franchise.
That's amazing to me. I did not know there was that many. I mean, I did because I made the spreadsheet, but
Right. If before this spreadsheet, yeah. And
I mean, for a while it was like every Halloween it was like a new Saw movie was coming out.
Right.
It was like Halloween and Friday the 13th.
well, Jigsaw was the I guess the next Freddy Krueger, whatever. Although with I believe a little bit less of a sense of humor, somewhat. Every now and then a very dark sense of humor. But yeah, I saw the first one, and the first one was a pretty solid horror movie, very unsettling horror movie.
I think I've seen the first 3. Again,
Yeah.
my friend that is the horror fan kind of dragged me to these.
Right, because I'm surprised that when you said that you've seen 3 of those. Of what I've seen, I can't remember. I'm kind of like you with these, is that I've seen a couple of them afterwards, but they all run together, and it went from a pretty good initial outing to being just more torture porn, which the world really doesn't need. But I don't know. Do they finally kill? Well, no, they never kill. What am I saying? They never kill any of these off, right? They always come back.
They always come back. There's always a way.
Okay, so out of curiosity, even though, like I say, I thought that most of the sequels were pretty dreadful. What kind of diminishing returns have we had in this franchise?
It seems to be a theme, doesn't it? Let's see.
Although I'm seeing a lot of triple digits, I'm not. There doesn't look like there's going to be.
No. Except for Saw 6.
That's the only. Yeah, Saw 6 is the only film that has performed less than 100 million.
But even so, that's still not a bad chunk of change.
What was the budget? 11?
Adjusted, it's 13 million.
13 adjusted for 82 profit. Yeah, I wouldn't complain there. What's the biggest title, or the
biggest budget?
What's the most the biggest gross adjusted? Looks like it may be. Is it Saw 3?
Yeah, the third one. Yeah.
Huh.
Over 206 million
on a $10 million budget. The original Saw, 1.2. Well, with an adjusted budget, $1.6 million.
Wow. So you got Saw, you've got Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do, Barry.
Exactly. That's what. Well, no, but we enjoy talking about movies so much. Where are we ever going to find the time, right? If I remember correctly, they shot about like a 10-minute scene from the film. Kind of used that as or from the script that they had written, and used that as basically a business card. As hey, look what we can do.
Right.
Give us, hey, producers, give us some money to finish this project.
Evidently, it worked.
It sure did. It's made a few people a little bit of dough. All right, so what have we got up next?
And clocking in at number 71 on our list is the Rush Hour franchise.
Jackie Chan, and another one of my favorites, Chris Tucker. Actually, along with his really pretty good job in Silver Linings Playbook, this is one of my favorite things that Chris Tucker was in. I enjoyed the Rush Hour trilogy. I actually liked all three of them.
I did too. I didn't enjoy the third one quite as well. But yeah, I love the first two.
Yeah, that was a pretty good pair. I don't know how, I'm not sure. I need to go back and kind of research. I don't know how that pair came about. It's pretty unlikely,
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think about it. And, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Tucker wrangled a heck of a payday deal, I think, for the Rush Hour movies, certainly for the last couple, I think. And he pretty much, I don't know what happened, but he pretty much disappeared after the third one, right? Until Silver Linings Playbook. He just took off.
Well,
he kind of Dave Chappelle'd it.
When you make that kind of money, I guess you can.
Yeah, again, yeah, like people were talking. I remember about how people talked about Dave Chappelle, like he must be insane to turn down the kind of money that Comedy Central was throwing. Yeah, I guess if you feel like you've got enough money to make yourself, happy, you could say goodbye. I remember another, I want to say Juliana Margulies from ER turned down an amazing contract offer at one point to go further, I think, with ER. So, nope. No, nope. That would not make me happy.
And we'll take time away.
Right, yeah.
Take a pause.
Well, it hasn't. I guess if you're comfortable, look, Dave Chappelle, made what? He's made the money back that he lost from the Comedy Central deal with Netflix and those comedy specials. He made a big payday there. So I don't know how we're on to Dave Chappelle. Oh, yeah, with Chris Tucker. But, yeah, I enjoyed those movies.
I'm surprised they haven't made a fourth one, but I guess to your point.
Yeah, I think he decided that, he'd had enough. His hour was up. So, we've talked a lot about, we've had a lot of horror, a lot of violence and action here in our franchises. Let's lighten things up, just if only briefly. Our next franchise up, I see, is American Pie.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have a little humor in there. I remember when American Pie first came out in 1999. That was huge. It was a biggie.
1999 was a huge year for movies as well.
It was. It seems like a lot of times end of decade years seem to be, although I would argue so far this year is not a very, well, financially it will be. Yeah, it will be. Certainly for Disney. Mm-hmm. But, 99 was a good year financially, and there was just a lot of good movies. But a lot of people are definitely, especially teens, younger people, talking about American Pie and the famous, pie scene. I thought American Pie was a pretty funny movie. It's definitely a little sophomoric, but Eugene Levy, especially playing the dad, that guy from SCTVs where he started out, but he is solid. That guy is just great. What did you think about? American Pie?
I saw it after the fact. I saw it years after it was released, but when I did see it, I wish I had seen it back in 1999.
Right, and it started a couple of careers for at least a little while. Jason Biggs, who else was in that? Elizabeth Shannon, right? She was certainly the it girl for a little while. Allison Hannigan of How I Met Your Mother fame now. She was the one with the the pie itself was certainly a big prop in there, but her flute also pretty big prop in that movie. Who else? Chris Klein. Sean, who is it?
Sean William Scott.
Sean William Scott as Stifler, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that movie had a pretty funny cast. Jennifer Coolidge is usually pretty funny. So, yeah, and I mean, I did see the second one, not, of course, again, law of diminishing returns. And I believe I ended up seeing American Reunion not too long ago, which it wasn't bad, not great, but wasn't bad. What did American Pie end up doing box office wise?
Close to $360 million adjusted.
Off of an adjusted $18 million budget.
That's incredible.
That's nice, yeah. That's definitely laughing all the way to the bank for sure. And even though, like I said, diminishing returns maybe artistically, but the second one, again, outperformed the first one to the tune. Its adjusted gross at $412 million worldwide on a comedy. Though that's, as we well know, the last few years, I don't think financially have really comedies. They don't make that
comedies
kind of money.
have taken it on the chin.
Right. They've slipped on the proverbial banana peel. But that's pretty interesting. And the other two, not bad either. 174 and 262. So.
I don't know if they'll make a American Pie 5.
American Pie 5, the nursing home years. Hey, speaking of comedies, I see our next series is 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, what's next?
I just want to mention that 50 Shades of Grey has made over close to $1.39 billion. So,
oh my gosh, it just keeps getting funnier. Or is that sadder? I don't know. Have you seen, by the way, have you seen any of?
No.
I saw the second one.
But you didn't see the first one.
No, I didn't see the.
Now, was this by choice or was it by being brought along to see it?
I chose to go to the movie that my wife suggested that I go to.
Had she seen the first one?
Yes.
Okay. But you did not.
No, I mean, I think I was on a business trip or something at that time. I think I found another business trip to go to on the third one.
Okay, so moving along to something less frightening. How about the Ghostbusters franchise?
Oh, but not nearly as funny. Ghostbusters. You gotta love the Ghostbusters. That first, well, you at least gotta love the first.
The first one.
First Ghostbusters. Again, one of those all-time classic comedies that could watch endlessly, just over and over again. Perfectly cast: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis. Love that movie. And while I love that movie, and a lot of other people did too, the second one I didn't love so much, nor did apparently Bill Murray, from what I understand. I think he's always regretted doing that, so much so that he wouldn't have much to do with Ghostbusters. Anytime anybody mentioned it, right, later on, let's do another. And what he didn't, he really didn't seem primed or pumped to do that. And then he went ahead and agreed to do the misbegotten remake of just a few years ago. I really don't understand. I don't understand that move from Murray.
Well, money talks, apparently.
They say it does. They loudly at times, I guess.
It was just a terrible movie all
It was
around.
terrible.
I couldn't even make it through the first half hour.
I didn't see it when it came out in theater. I ended up, and this is the way to watch it, I guess. I ended up taping it on TV, DVRing it, and to where I could, stop and get up and go to. So I think it took about 3 or 4 sittings. I'm like, all right, I'm going to power my way through this. And, I felt bad again for Kate McKinnon's, all the cast, McCarthy, all of those women are very good when they have good stuff to do, but they did not. That was a scary thing all around, and not in a funny or good way.
Mm-mm.
What's the first one had to have just adjusted, just be outrageous.
It killed it at the box office. It made over $723 million adjusted.
Off of an adjusted, $70 million budget?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty effects laden. That's a big comedy. They don't make any, it seems like, big comedies anymore, but, along the size of something like It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, or Steven Spielberg's 1941, those just the Blues Brothers,
mm-hmm.
which Aykroyd, of course, was also involved in. Big, expensive comedies. This one paid off.
Yeah, it was a cultural phenomenon at the time.
Oh, yeah. Who are you going to call? Come on. That's still everybody. Right. My daughters who don't really keep up with much of the old school movies that I know, even they know, even they know that.
It was like the perfect alignment. You had the perfect song for the perfect movie at the perfect time.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Just, look, it was a funny movie. Well, everything was done right, but also, yeah, it was just everything was at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And so I could see why they made a second one,
Yeah, but basically, have you seen the second one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. It's pretty flat. A retread. Yeah, it's what you got. A retread. I see why Bill Murray's. I don't think it's quite as bad as Murray has seemed to lead on at times, but Lord, it ain't good.
It was off.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what they do for the upcoming.
I'm still, this is one of those. I probably shouldn't be crossing my fingers. We probably should just let it go. But curiosity just too much on that. Aykroyd seems pretty excited about it. He's been talking it up, and Sigourney just announced that she was going to be, returning as well. Hopefully, most of the principals will be back for it, excluding, of course, comedy great Harold Ramis, who died about 5 years ago. I'm rooting for it, and I think just about everybody else is rooting for it, too.
And a lot of people have rooted for our next franchise, Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for a serial killing cannibal, a lot of people really seem to, they seem to root that guy. Well, they certainly did, and I can see this at the end of the Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
I can kind of see why they were rooting him on. And then again, there were some pretty despicable characters other than Lecter in the sequel Hannibal, and then the following movies just themselves were pretty despicable to me, or if not despicable, they weren't terribly good. And Hannibal itself, come on, that wasn't really a good movie either. But that's a guilty pleasure for me. There's just the scene at the end, the dining scene.
Mm-hmm. Poor Ray Liotta.
Yeah, poor Ray Liotta. That's one of those scenes that I just can't get out of. It's so over the top.
It's still disturbing, even as we're talking about it.
It is. It's disturbing, yet I can't. It's like one that you hear. I just can't look away. When it's on, I just can't look. I've got to watch it.
It's very well done. Very well done.
So what did? Oh, wait a minute. And look at me. I don't know if I said earlier the first one. Silence of the Lambs is not the first Hannibal Lecter movie. It's Michael Mann's very well done movie, Manhunter, which came out, about 4 or 5 years prior to that. It wasn't Anthony Hopkins didn't originally play Lecter. It was Brian Cox. He's a really good actor too, but that movie didn't take off like Silence of the Lambs did.
But that's why you didn't think about it at the time.
Well, it didn't take off financially, but it was a solid movie. You had, again, Michael Mann, who's a very good director. You had, I think, William Peterson, who CSI star, who was actually the lead cop in that movie. That was a good flick, but it didn't. Let's see what Manhunter pulled in. Just what, 20 million adjusted off of an adjusted $34 million budget. So it lost, but somebody had the foresight to go, all right, well, that property a few years ago didn't work, even though it was a good movie. But you know what? Let's reboot that thing. Put another solid actor in there. Oh, let's get Jodie Foster, and then, wow, movie magic.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. There's only been 3 movies, I believe. I think 3 movies in history that have taken down the top 5 Oscars. And those are considered, you've got Best Actor and Actress, Best Screenplay, Best Director, Best Picture. 3 movies have taken all 5 in 1 year. It happened one night way back in 1934. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, and this movie, The Silence of the Lambs, in 1991.
Well, it raked in over $515 million at the box office, so those Oscars are warranted then.
Well, yeah, for a change, it used to be that your Best Picture didn't always make a ton of money. That may be now. That's certainly one of the most profitable Best Picture winners, I would say, along with The Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. And Hannibal, the sequel, it didn't do that bad at the box office. It only lost, 10 million or so.
You made it was only 10 million behind.
Right.
Now that is a number that shocks me. And I didn't realize it was 10 years later either. So Hannibal wasn't released till 2001.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
So, 500. I didn't realize it made 504 worldwide. Now, there's definitely a big. So, in the 10 years, The Silence of the Lambs adjusted budget, $37 million. 10 years later, Hannibal's adjusted budget, $125 million. I'm going to say Anthony Hopkins probably had a nice little payday there. Everybody should have had a pretty good payday. In 2001, I don't really see, now that I think about it, I don't see how that justified 125. I don't see where that money was spent other than, well, I don't see where that money was spent.
Then Red Dragon dropped off considerably, $291 million. Then Hannibal Rising didn't even crack $100 million.
Yeah, I did not see. Now, I did see Red Dragon. I was pretty disappointed with that, especially considering, it had a pretty good cast to it. But that movie didn't go anywhere for me, and I didn't see Hannibal Rising. I didn't bother with that one. I figured Ray Liotta at the dinner table was probably where that series is going to end for me. And it actually ended up being a short-lived but very well critically liked show, Hannibal, on TV, which I did not see. I've been encouraged by numerous people to watch, and one of these days I'm going to have to break down and get to it, because I've heard too many good things about it. But
and become a TV knob in addition to being a film knob.
Here's the thing. I am a TV knob. It's just not, it's I don't have the show yet. Maybe, we may have to think about,
a sister
broadening a sister show, TV knobs, which would of course be appropriate, right? Since you've got The old, I'm old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember turning knobs on the TV. So,
And now it's not even buttons anymore. It's just screens. You push screens.
Oh, technology, the future. So, speaking of technology in the future,
being scary.
And being scary, right? There we go. Another one of those accidental good segues. Resident Evil pops up next on our list.
Yes, it does. It comes at number 64, earning over $1.4 billion.
Well, okay, now here, you're definitely going to have to pull this up because I'm going to tell you something. I've seen, I can't remember, they all kind of melt together after the first one, right? But I'm pretty sure the last few in that series were, pretty low budget and pretty atrocious CGI. They couldn't have cost anything to make, yet here this franchise is with, 1 point however many billion dollars. So, it looks like a lot of triple digits here. What we got?
Well, your law of diminishing returns seems to be the law of increasing returns.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm shocked. I think I've seen all of them.
Wow. So the final chapter is almost the highest grossing.
Yes. That surprises me.
Considering the quality, the diminishing returns of quality in that series, that is absolutely, this is one of the most shocking things I think I've seen so far in this list.
And now look at this. The adjusted budget for the last one was less than the adjusted budget for the first one.
Wow. Yeah, I see. Well, and I can believe that because, again, they got increasingly cheaper look. I still think I'm seeing a $41 million adjusted gross or adjusted budget for the last episode, the last chapter. It didn't look like it looked like about a $10 million movie to me.
The CGI was not that good. There's a couple cool scenes and effects, but overall it was just not a good movie. But they did leave it open-ended so they could make a seventh one if they chose, which they might.
They did. Yeah, I didn't see that. So they have right. Well, so why not?
Even though it's the final chapter, it's never really the final chapter.
I mean, Mia Jovovich, she can still do. I would still believe her, even though. When's the first? 2002 is the first release year.
So she's been kicking, zombie butt for 15 years.
Well, almost, yeah. Well, yeah, since the layout, you're right. The last one, 15, it would be 15 years. And if there was another one come up in the next couple of years, at 20 years, I would still, I think I would still believe her. Wasn't she wasn't she the villain in
Hellboy?
The unfortunate Hellboy this year?
Poor Hellboy.
Yeah. Kind of went straight to hell, but those numbers, yeah, that's man, oh day. I would have loved to have have a piece of that pie for sure.
So maybe they, the reason they only had a $40 million budget, maybe they didn't think it was going to do as well as it did.
Or maybe they just knew, look, these people that are going to see this, we've got them. Hook, line, and sinker. They're going to come. They're going to show up. Let's just, we can shave some money on this baby take it for ourselves. I like the first, it's by no means a good movie in a way, but the first one, it's entertaining, certainly.
Which is also based off a video game. So that's, at least two franchises based off a video game. Tomb Raider is another one.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm sure there's more. All right, so let's step back out of Raccoon City. Where are we going?
Well, going from a video game franchise to a novel franchise, the Jack Ryan movies.
Ah, yes. So I guess that started out with should have been Hunt for Red October, right? Back in 92. You can tell somebody hadn't pulled the someone hasn't pulled I'm going by a very shaky memory here. But originally in Hunt for Red October, Alec Baldwin played Jack Ryan and was a fine. I really liked that movie, and I liked Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan. After that, that was the only time he played Ryan, and he was replaced with an even bigger star. Did Harrison bring in more money or less money than Alec?
All right, so he was in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger?
Right. Yeah, Harrison came in for those two.
Yes, if you combine those two box office returns, it made more money than The Hunt for Red October.
But individually, they did not.
Right.
That's interesting. I would,
But to be fair, I don't know that The Hunt for Red October returns was based solely on Alec Baldwin's portrayal. I think.
Oh no!
I think it was Sean Connery and
right. Well, and it's just I think pretty much there'll be some people who disagree, but I think the majority would say that The Hunt for Red October is still, after all these years, the best.
I agree.
The best.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. It just was an all-around, well-made movie. Oh, yeah, by the way, made by John McTiernan, who made Predator we talked about earlier. He just, and probably, he's the director of something I'm pretty sure we'll talk about on down the line. But, so what? Hunt for Red October, $389 million, basically, adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
And then, still in the 300s for Harrison, and then in came Ben Affleck for The Sum of All Fears back in 2002. That dropped off to $273 million, and finally the last entry, Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit, and that was Chris Pine.
Yes,
and that was kind of considered.
Seen that one.
Yeah, that's kind of considered a misfire. And I want to say that even Chris Pine has kind of halfway apologized for that movie. It didn't really pan out, even though I see the adjusted gross for that is $140 off of a $65 million adjusted.
There's the
budget.
Jack Ryan series on Amazon Prime, right?
Ah, that is correct, which I have not seen. There's so much.
There's so much content.
Right, there is so much content, and it's frustrating to it's probably frustrating to a lot of people, but certainly to people like us who kind of have to. We want to stay on top as much as we can, but there's just no way to watch all this and lead any semblance of a regular life. I think maybe back in the day, I had some single years back in the day where I could devote a little bit more time to.
But
to
now you have obligations.
There are obligations. Well, didn't we hear something in the elevator coming up earlier about it? There was a mother and daughter, and the daughter was kind of complaining about I don't know what it was about money, right? And then what did mom say?
Welcome to life, or
something about adulthood.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Welcome to adulthood. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Forget adulthood. Why don't we go back to our childhood? Play a game of Jumanji. Jumanji is what we're going to talk about next up. Coming in at what, number 60?
Nice segue, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. See, I'm starting to get the hang of this. Starting to get the feel of the segues.
Yeah. So far there's been 3 Jumanji movies.
Now wait a minute. Has there?
Mm-hmm.
I thought there were just 2 Jumanjis.
Well,
and then we've got one. I know we got one coming, right?
Yeah. So there's a debate going on.
Okay.
A discussion, debate, however you want to frame it, on whether or not a movie called Zathura is part of the Jumanji franchise or Jumanji canon.
Zathura, the Favreau directed movie, right? Which I didn't see. I know it got pretty good reviews. Didn't do well at the box office.
No.
But so I didn't know that was considered a part of the Jumanji franchise.
So this list that we're going through originated on thenumbers.com.
Okay.
The franchise list. And they have it listed as part of the Jumanji franchise. Well, so does IMDb and Wikipedia. So apparently there's a book, Zathura, that in the book borrows from Jumanji and has mentions of Jumanji, but in the movie there's no mention of Jumanji at all.
So it's written by the same guy.
Right.
Huh. Well, that is a bit of
So the movie is like a spiritual borrowing from Jumanji.
And you've seen it, right? You
I have.
And so it does, I mean, it's
basically Jumanji in space, minus Robin Williams.
okay. All right. So that's that's very interesting. I never knew that.
And it did not do well at the box office. In fact, it lost over $8 million at the box office.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that movie came out, and I can remember the reviews were, like I said, it was pretty good, but it was, it was there and gone fairly quickly. So, all right, so that movie lost money. That means the other ones made a little money, especially, holy moly. Am I looking at that right? Am I looking at the Jumanji adjusted gross there? Correct? That's $1 billion movie, huh?
Right.
Well, I guess I can see why. I guess I can see why the franchise can kind of shoulder the burden of Zathura's poor box office. The original, not too shabby either. We got $439 million adjusted gross on that.
And so then I guess they're taking it Jumanji 3 maybe. It's coming out later this year. So that it'll be interesting to see how it does at the box office.
Well, especially because, I mean, this Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle came out the same holiday season that Star Wars, The Last Jedi came out, right? And probably took a lot of thunder away from that movie. I mean, and they were both in the same Christmas season, and we're talking about it made $1 billion.
Wow!
So another another rematch between those two franchises would be very interesting. I mean, I thought it was it's all right. It's okay.
But you don't know if it was $1 billion worth of...
Oh, no. I wouldn't say it's $1 billion movie. Well, it is $1 billion movie, but...
you don't know why.
I wasn't that excited about it.
Well, maybe this next franchise title will excite you more than Jumanji. How about Rambo?
Nope. Oh boy, here we go. Here I go, ready to tick off throngs of action movie heroes. I think I did a little bit of that in our last.
I think you did.
Yeah, I think I did. Well, I'm about to do it again because I probably mentioned that in the earlier episode, but no, I was not a fan of any of the Rambo movies. I disliked the first three. How many have there been, as a matter of fact?
I think there's been 4.
And we've got one coming up, and I can't remember it's Rambo something, the something. Anyway, I saw there was a trailer the other day, and now, so our 90-year-old John Rambo looks like he's, bought himself a ranch somewhere in Texas or somewhere. I don't know. And, I guess he thought he was going to, escape down there, but no such luck, it looks like.
Well, he's tried escaping before, from the world, and they
Right.
keep finding him.
Right. I wish I'm rooting for I'm rooting for John Rambo to escape from the world and get away, far, far away, to where we could never find him again.
Well, for all of Rambo's blood, sweat, and tears, the franchise comes at number 56 on our list.
56 with a healthy, robust, what is that?
1.5 billion and change
for the adjusted gross on 4 movies. So what's the breakdown? I am curious as to the breakdown of. I'll tell you what, though, even though I didn't like, even though I obviously haven't liked the series, especially Rambo First Blood. How was it? It's Rambo First Blood Part 2, right? That movie kind of encapsulated at the time the Reagan years, right? I mean, that was a huge movie. I'm going to say, yep. I knew it was going to overshadow First Blood, but I didn't know financially. I didn't know by that much, though.
Yeah, almost over double.
Right. So the first Rambo First Blood, adjusted gross of $330 million off of an adjusted budget of $37 million.
Wow.
Not bad. And then 3 years later, right in the middle of the Reagan years, we have Rambo First Blood 2, $709 million off of around $100 million budget.
And then Rambo 3, it still made more than the first one. Rambo 3 made over $406 million at the box office.
Adjusted gross.
Uh-huh.
400. Well, it needed to, because and I remember at the time there was a lot of talk about it. I want to say I remember Time Magazine having a big article about it. It was the most expensive movie, I believe, ever made at that, up to that date when it was released. It was somewhere in the $60 million budget range, at least the production of it. So it needed to make a lot of money, and it did. It did. Ugh.
And like we've talked about before, this list only includes the actual production budget. So
okay.
The P&A, the prints and advertising, is easily doubles.
Right, because I thought, I thought I'd remembered, that article and several others saying, it was over $100 million movie, and that's probably.
So yeah, it needed to make 400.
It did
$6 million.
It did need to, and I haven't seen. I didn't bother with the sequel Rambo, which came out in 2008. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Wait a minute. Now that seems like that's a movie you would.
I meant to.
Well, here we go though. Rambo. So I see it now. Rambo 5: Last Blood. Oh boy. All right, folks. I am rolling my eyes right now. Just kidding. Rambo 5: Last Blood.
Well, they're bookending it, right? So you get First Blood,
sure.
Last Blood, and then if there's a sixth, then it'll be Last Blood.
See, do you hear that thunder going on outside? That is God being very angry about
Rambo.
About Rambo. No, Rambo, Last Blood. What have you done, Earthlings?
God. Rambo takes on God.
Oh, that'll
Rambo
be
6. Rambo 6.
The afterlife. Rambo 6. Well, he keeps trying to run away, like you said. It just keeps getting further away. This time it'll be unearthly. All right, so where can Rambo escape? Well, I guess he could go to Beverly Hills, right? He could try that, but he'd probably he would stand out in Beverly Hills.
He would.
Pretty much like, I guess, Axel Foley stood out in Beverly Hills, right? Coming in from Detroit, but he didn't have any problem taking down Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills Cop. What does that come in at?
Comes at number 54.
Man, I love that first. Well, not talking about the last, but I did love the first the first movie in this series. That was a great movie. It's one of the movies that made Eddie Murphy kind of the guy in the mid to late 80s.
So it's made almost $1.6 billion adjusted franchise gross.
Yeah, and with only I was thinking, was there a fourth movie to bump that up? But there hasn't been.
It seems like they're.
I thought maybe it was just they were talking about it at one time. But again, I love the first movie. It's one of those, again. It's a hard line to it's hard line to walk when you do an action comedy like that, right? I mean, but it was both exciting and very funny,
And they had the right actor for the role.
Absolutely. And not just for the lead role, for his the cops, that helped him eventually alongside. He had Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, both of them, talented guys. Neither one of them really ever duplicated the success they got from this movie, but yeah, I love that flick. And then came Tony Scott and Beverly Hills Cop 2, which was I thought that was a terrible sequel. And the third one, while it was no masterpiece, the third one at least bounced back a little bit. It wasn't quite as bad as the second one.
Yeah, so the first one obviously did the best. Made almost $775 million at the box office, adjusted gross. And the second one dropped off a little bit, made almost $620 million.
Wow, that's still, thinking about how much I dislike that movie. Wow.
And the third one, made just over $204 million, which sounds like a lot of money until you, again, factor in P&A. So.
Right. and plus, what, the budget, adjusted budget, $86 million. So, yeah, that was probably a break-even at best kind of proposition.
But I'm surprised they haven't brought Eddie Murphy back to make Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Well, it hasn't been for a lack of trying. The last few years, they actually did try to, get a Beverly Hills Cop 4 on track. And but the last I heard, and this was a year or two ago, that Murphy himself said, it was kind of a done deal at that time. Even though I believe Paramount had they'd gotten a couple of writers and directors involved, but no go. CBS actually, Morganator, they produced a TV series pilot back in it's either 2012 or 2013 that was going to focus on Axel Foley's. The series was going to focus on Axel Foley's son, and they shot the series pilot. Barry Sonnenfeld was the director, and Murphy himself showed up in a cameo as Axel Foley, but CBS passed on that. I mean, I certainly would really like to see that unaired pilot, but yeah, it looks like Beverly Hills Cop may have been retired for good. And speaking of retirement, I think this may be a good place for us to stop. We're running at about our budgeted time, so we've got plenty more to talk about for the next episode. We're going to continue with our own franchise. Maybe call that episode "Return of the Son of the Franchise." But if you have any comments, we certainly would love to hear from you. Rick, you're so good at that. How do? Because, me and my old memory, I just can't remember. We're everywhere, and I just can't remember how do people get to us?
Sure. So they can hit us up on Twitter or at Film Nobs. They can find us on Facebook. We got a Pinterest page. We got a YouTube channel. They can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud.
And Stitcher. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
We love you, Nobsters.
Boy, what a blatant grab for that is.
Well, we
that
do.
is pitiful.
We love our audience.
We do. I'm not saying we don't. I'm just saying
And they love
shameless.
us. They love us.
Well, I guess we'll find out if they, depending on what they tell us back, we'll find out. I think they do. I hope they do. All right. Well, I guess until next time, everybody, take care.